Imagine for a second. You are back in high school.
Okay.
It's a Friday afternoon. You're worried about exams. You're worried about your crush. Maybe you're worried about making the varsity team.
Right. The usual teenage stuff.
Exactly. But now, imagine that making the varsity team isn't just about social status or getting a Letterman jacket.
Oh, boy.
It is literally about surviving a military-grade recruitment tool designed to weed out the weak.
Which changes the stakes just a little bit, doesn't it?
Just a little. And imagine that growing up isn't signified by getting your driver's license or, staying out past curfew.
Mm-hmm.
In this world, the rite of passage is reaching over your shoulder and physically switching off the personal security droid that has been hovering there since you were a toddler.
It sounds like a dystopian nightmare, frankly.
It really does.
But when you look at the source material we have in front of us today, it feels terrifyingly plausible.
No.
It paints a picture of a future where the line between public education and state warfare isn't just blurred. It is completely erased.
That is exactly the tension we are stepping into. So welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are focusing our lens on Chapter 17 of Range Error by J.M. Britton.
A fantastic chapter.
Truly. And I have to say, if you are a listener who loves intricate, high-stakes world building, you are going to absolutely love this.
It really is a standout section. It serves as this crucial pivot point in the narrative.
Yeah.
We aren't just looking at teenage angst here. We are looking at a society that has effectively gamified violence.
Right.
We have this brutal sport called Ludus Bello. We have a psychological thriller playing out between the protagonist, Grace, and this absolute enigma of a character known as Sample 87.
And of course, we have a cliffhanger that we will get there. But it legitimately gave me chills reading that final paragraph.
Oh, same here.
It shifts the genre so fast your head spins. So, our mission today is to unpack the mechanics of this world. We're going to break down the tactical brutality of the sport, analyze that bizarre glitch in Sample 87's psychology, and finally, walk through that terrifying sequence at Grace's house.
This sounds like a solid plan, and I think the best place to start is with the setting itself, because in this text, the setting, specifically this sport, Ludus Bello is practically a character in its own right.
Right, because usually when you read about fictional sports in sci-fi, it's like zero-gravity basketball. Or
3D chess.
Yeah, 3D chess, it's flavor text. But this feels entirely different. The source material explicitly describes it as the art of war turned into sport.
That's a key phrase. And it's not just a metaphor. The text explicitly states that Ludus Bello was developed by Inter's Defense Department.
Which is wild.
Right. It wasn't invented for fun or exercise. It was adopted by schools specifically to weed out young talent.
That is so intense for a high school extracurricular. Imagine saying, hey, Mom, just going off to military tactical assessment practice.
Essentially, yes. Think about the implications of that for a second. You aren't playing to win a trophy or to boost school spirit. You are playing to prove you are useful to the military-industrial complex.
If you're good at the sport, you're good at war. It entirely redefines the concept of scouting. You aren't being scouted for college scholarships. You're being assessed for combat readiness. And for the tech enthusiasts listening, the implementation here is fascinating. It's not just guys running around a field.
No, it's a true mixed reality environment. The players are decked out in body armor and helmets, but everything is coded in pressure pads connected to a network.
Like a full-body sensor grid.
Precisely. It's a blend of martial arts, rugby, and tactical chess, all overlaid with digital information via headsets.
So you have the physical exertion, the sweat, the impact, the exhaustion, but the objective is purely strategic. It's essentially capture the flag, but the flag is a human being.
Yes.
You have to capture the opposing team's king.
And this is where it gets incredibly gritty, because you can inflict fatalities.
Fatalities in a high school game? That's a heavy word.
It is. There are virtual fatalities, thankfully.
Yeah.
When those pressure pads register a hit that would be lethal in a real combat scenario, say a specific amount of force to the chest or head, the system registers a fatality. The player is sent to the bench.
Wow.
It teaches the kids that a single mistake doesn't just cost points. In the real world, it would cost lives.
I was looking at the scoring breakdown in the notes here, and it's strictly hierarchical. It assigns value to life based on strategic rank.
It really does.
So a pawn is worth 3 points, a special is 5, a queen is 10, and the king is a massive 20 points.
It creates a mindset where protecting leadership is mathematically more important than protecting the foot soldiers.
Which is pure military doctrine.
Exactly. It teaches these kids that some lives, technically speaking, of course,
Mm.
are worth more than others.
And the roles themselves reinforce this class system on the field. We have to talk about the specials, because we see the character Resnick in this role, and this isn't just a guy running fast.
Now, the specials are essentially mechanized infantry. They're equipped with vehicles: dirt bikes, hybrids, hoverboards.
Hoverboards and dirt bikes on a playing field
Yeah.
alongside people running on foot. That sounds like absolute chaos.
Controlled chaos. Their job is shock and awe. They attack, they knock out the competition, and they protect the pawns.
So picture the scene. You have kids on foot, the pawns equipped only with shields, trying to score goals while classmates on metallic hybrid bikes are diving at them at 30 miles per hour. It's terrifying.
It tests reaction time under extreme stress. And then you have the kings. They aren't even fighting physically in the same way.
Right, they're sitting back.
They are the commanders, barking orders via VR headsets. The text mentions that tactical moves and high-impact hits are projected onto large screens for the audience.
Speaking of the audience, this was the detail that really stuck with me. It's not just watching. The spectators can actually experience hits firsthand if they're wearing the right gear.
It's the ultimate gamification of violence.
It is.
It completely desensitizes them. You aren't just watching your classmate get tackled, you're feeling a simulated version of the impact. If you're a teenager in the stands, you aren't wincing because your friend got hurt. You're buzzing because you felt a jolt.
It paints a picture of a society that is deeply comfortable with aggression. It's purely entertainment to them.
Precisely. And yet, amidst all this high-tech brutality, we have this very human moment with Grace and her friend Taylor. Taylor is watching Resnick, who is riding one of those metallic hybrids.
And Taylor's eyes are shining with mischief. She's clearly impressed.
It grounds the scene. Yes, it's a military recruitment tool, but for the teenagers, it's still about who looks cool on a dirt bike. It reminds us that these are still kids, even if the system is trying to turn them into soldiers.
Exactly. It's that perfect mix of Blade Runner tech and Mean Girls social dynamics.
That's a great way to put it.
Which brings us to the most awkward and frankly painful social dynamic in the chapter, Grace and Sample 87.
This relationship is the emotional core of the chapter. We open with a scene that is just brutal to read.
So painful.
Grace has just finished a musical recital. She's vulnerable, maybe a bit proud. And Sample 87 walks up to give her what he calls a post-mortem.
A post-mortem? Who says that to someone who just played a violin? You say that about a failed mission or a dead body.
You say it if you're someone who views everything through a tactical, analytical lens. He tells her point blank that she doesn't have the talent for it.
Ouch. And he's got that wicked grin and a smug expression. Grace just wants to wipe it off his face. It seems like purely antagonistic behavior. He looks like a classic high school bully in this moment.
But here is where it gets really interesting. The source material gives us access to Sample 87's internal narrative, and it completely contradicts his external actions. This is the key insight of the chapter.
Yes, this blew my mind. While he's insulting her technique to her face, what is he actually thinking?
He's admiring her, he watches her scarlet feathers ruffle beautifully, and this specific line, he was jealous of the reach of the sun as it kissed her on the pathway.
That is surprisingly poetic for a guy who treats music like an autopsy. Jealous of the reach of the sun?
It suggests a deep complexity. He's forcing his critical ego to the forefront, to hide something else. There's a longing there. He's jealous of the sun because it can touch her, and he feels he can't. He is repressed, hidden behind layers of armor, both literal and metaphorical.
And this tension comes to a head later in the chapter when they literally collide. Grace is walking along, lost in thought, and she turns right into him.
And 87 experiences tonic immobility.
Tonic immobility. Let's unpack that term, because that's not just getting shy.
No, it's a biological response to extreme stress or shock.
Yeah.
It's what happens to prey animals when they're cornered. They freeze.
Right.
For a character who is supposedly this tactical genius, this super soldier trainee, to freeze just because he bumped into a girl.
It implies his system is overloaded.
Precisely. And his internal monologue here is incredibly revealing. He views her presence right there in front of him as the culmination of every moment. He references having never experienced this feeling, not even in Mobius. Mobius implies a loop, a construct. To say that real life with Grace is more intense than Mobius suggests that his previous experiences might have been artificial. He's saying, my simulation never prepared me for this.
So what does he do? Does he say hello? Does he apologize?
He runs. He abruptly turned and left.
He flees the scene.
He has to. He's overwhelmed. He avoids revealing his shock. If he stays, the mask slips.
And Grace is left there thinking, what just happened? She's actually wondering if he's even human.
That's a recurring theme for her. She speculates that these samples might be machines, AI, or VR constructs, given their rumors and origin. She notes that his presence felt oddly familiar, like a memory she can't place. But she dismisses it. She thinks she's just daydreaming.
It's so tragic. They're both obviously drawn to each other, but one thinks the other is a robot, and the other is too terrified of his own feelings to speak.
It creates a fantastic layer of dramatic irony. We, the audience, know 87 has these deep, poetic feelings, but Grace just sees a weird, rude guy in a helmet.
So Grace is feeling confused and a bit isolated, but she does have Taylor. And I love the contrast between them. Taylor is all energy, bouncing around, and Grace is a bit of a gloom cloud in this chapter.
Grace is definitely carrying a heavy weight, and it's amplified by the fact that it's her birthday.
But she doesn't want to celebrate.
No. The text describes her as a superstitious nut. She believes birthdays are unlucky.
Which, given how this chapter ends, might be the most rational thought she has all day.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But despite Grace's refusal to celebrate, Taylor gives her a gift, a miniature polyphone.
I looked this up in the notes. It sounds beautiful. It's an antique, right? A mechanical music box, wooden case carved with cherubs and Greek gods.
But look at the language used to describe it. It's not just a music box. The text says it contains 3 metal discs, which are described as algorithms.
Algorithms. That's an unusual word for a 19th century music box disc.
Exactly. It says they are able to transport the listener somewhere else. Now, whether that is metaphorical, like getting lost in the music, or literal, given the sci-fi setting, is ambiguous. But it frames music as code.
That's a great catch. Everything in this world, even art, even the antiques, seems to be touched by code or tech language. So Taylor gives her this beautiful, strange gift, and then she takes off.
Right. Taylor leaves for Inter's annual gymnastic competition. Grace is left alone for the weekend.
And this is where the atmosphere starts to shift. The noise of the school day fades, and Grace is left with her thoughts. She starts thinking about the bigger picture. Why are the samples there?
The rumors are flying. The general belief is that Harrow, presumably the school, is assisting Inter with tech development.
But Grace sees something that contradicts the idea of a happy partnership.
She sees a man marching to the head's office on the warpath. She notes the teachers are on edge. It didn't seem friendly. It didn't look like a collaboration. It looked like an occupation.
So her imagination starts spinning. She thinks spies, stolen data, a rebellion against Inter.
She even wonders about secret societies. But then, and this is a critical character moment, she shuts it down. She scolds herself. She decides it's time to grow up.
And how she does this is so symbolic. She reaches up and grabs a little security droid that's been hovering overhead.
She switches it off and puts it in her bag. She tells herself, no more pretending creature comforts were companions.
That droid represents safety, childhood, and surveillance. By turning it off, she is claiming independence. She is rejecting the nanny state of her childhood.
It's a powerful move.
Yeah.
But she is also stripping away her defenses. She makes herself vulnerable at the exact moment she is about to need protection the most.
That's the tragedy of the timing. She decides to stop daydreaming and face reality, just as reality is about to become a nightmare.
It's classic thriller pacing. Lull the protagonist into a false sense of agency before pulling the rug out.
So she heads home. It's kind of funny. The sandwich incident.
The universal teenage experience. Realizing you left rotting food in your bag and your mom is going to kill you.
She sees her mom's pod in the driveway and panics about the sandwiches. So what does she do? She throws them over the fence into the neighbor's yard.
Poor Mrs. Rose. The text describes her as thorny, with no smile lines and a distaste for nature. And now she has a Ziploc bag of old sandwiches in her thick rhododendrons.
It's such a great little beat of comic relief. Grace feels the weight of the world lift. She thinks she's in the clear.
And that relief is necessary because it makes the drop terrifying. It lowers the listener's guard. She walks up to her front door.
She uses a palm scanner. It reads the network of capillaries in her hand. Again, high-tech security for a suburban house.
The door clicks open. She expects to find her mom, maybe complaining about the spa or cooking in the kitchen.
But the house is eerily quiet.
Her dad's work is abandoned on the kitchen counter. That's a bad sign. It suggests an interruption, a hasty exit.
And then the sound.
This description is masterful. It comes from upstairs. It's not a scream. It's not a crash.
It's described as the sheen of cold steel between each heavy thud.
That phrasing sheen of cold steel, it's synesthetic. It evokes a mechanical, rhythmic, heavy presence. It's the sound of something that shouldn't be in a house.
It implies weight, it implies metal, and it implies walking.
And remember, Grace just turned off her security droid. She is completely alone.
Talk about a genre shift. We went from High School Musical with dirt bikes to Alien in about 3 paragraphs.
It effectively pulls the rug out from under the listener. All that world building about Ludus Bello, the armor, the weapons, the fatalities, suddenly feels very relevant to what might be walking around upstairs.
That is a terrifying thought. If the sport is war training, is what's upstairs a player? Or something worse?
It connects back to Grace's question about Sample 87. Is he a machine? If he is, are there others? And are they friendly?
The sound upstairs doesn't seem friendly. Heavy thuds usually aren't.
No. And the fact that the house is empty, where are her parents? It suggests they were either taken or they fled.
So what does this all mean for us? Why does this chapter matter?
I think the power here lies in the contrast. On one hand, you have the macroscopic world of Inter, the Defense Department, these massive geopolitical forces shaping education and sports. And on the other hand, you have the microscopic world, a teenage girl who hates her birthday, has a crush she doesn't understand, and is afraid of getting in trouble for a forgotten sandwich.
It really highlights how helpless the individual can feel when these massive systems, technology, military surveillance encroach on their daily lives.
Exactly. Grace is trying to carve out a normal, life-throwing-away sandwiches, listening to music. But the system, whether it's Sample 87 or the thing upstairs, is literally walking into her home.
It's a reminder that in this world, you can't just opt out. You can turn off your droid, but you can't turn off the reality of the world you live in.
And that creates an incredible narrative drive. We care about Grace not because of the high-tech politics, but because we've seen her be vulnerable and human in the face of it. We've seen her act like a goofy teenager right before the horror starts.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to have to leave Grace there, freezing in her hallway, listening to those heavy thuds.
The difficult place to leave her.
But before we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you, the listener, with a thought. We talked about Sample 87. The text implies heavily that he is a product of this war machine system, maybe even built for Ludus Bello.
Right.
But if he is a machine designed for war, why does he have the capacity to feel jealousy toward the sun? If he is artificial, where did that poetry come from?
That is the million-dollar question. Is it a malfunction, or is it a soul?
And conversely, if the machine can feel love, can the thing upstairs feel mercy?
I wouldn't bet on it.
Something to mull over until next time. Thanks for diving in with us.
Stay curious.